Take a mental inventory of the everyday objects around you right now. The kettle on the counter, the speaker on the shelf, the electronics sitting by the television. Notice how quiet they are. The ultimate example of this inactivity sits right outside. Pick any product you own and add up the hours, like the car on the driveway, sitting there doing nothing for the overwhelming majority of its existence. This timeline illustrates the mathematical reality of that imbalance. It shows the massive amount of time a product spends asleep, contrasted against the razor-thin sliver of time it spends actually working. Now look at how these things are designed. Every polished 3D render, every promotional product photograph, and every single review unit shows the product awake, lit, and mid-interaction, doing the thing it was made for. This means the state that occupies the vast majority of an object's existence is the one nobody actually drew. Because designers focus almost exclusively on the interaction, the dormant state is left as an inherited byproduct, a phase of the design that was effectively skipped. When an object is abandoned, it immediately assumes a spatial consequence in a room. We call this its resting posture. Historical products often acted as prominent furniture. A television cabinet held its own space, dominating the room's proportions even when completely dormant. Contrast that with modern objects. A remote designed to be held looks physically out of place when forced to inherit an awkward, face-down stored state on a sofa arm. Then there is the second reality, dormant appearance. Lighting dictates a product's material reality. Environmental changes weaponize materials. A dark, unlit screen becomes a mirror, catching the bright, distorted reflection of a ceiling in broad daylight. When designers inherit a stored state, instead of actively crafting one, they guarantee the object will look visually incorrect for the vast majority of its existence. The third reality of rest is ambient behavior. This is the electrical and psychological footprint a device leaves when no one is using it. The industry does attempt to measure this footprint through standby power metrics. These measurable standby targets are heavily regulated by large institutional policy bodies and rigid metrology standards. But meeting a standby target is compliance. It is not the same thing as having intentionally designed an honest, calm resting state. The unmeasured cost is deeply psychological. It's the jarring disruption of a status light bright enough to read by at 2 in the morning. We also face an honesty problem. Always listening devices create a quiet anxiety because they lack a physical way to prove they are genuinely dormant. Good design, the kind that makes an object properly unobtrusive, is actually a claim about how well that object behaves when at rest. Why can't we just patch these behavioral flaws after the physical product is built? Because a resting posture cannot be retrofitted. Physical proportions, footprint, and center of mass are permanently locked at the initial package level. Dormant appearance is equally locked in. A product's aging process and its interaction with light are irrevocably decided by the chosen material substrate. True electrical dormancy is determined by board-level power architecture decisions made months before the physical enclosure even exists. When a modern device achieves a deep, honest sleep state, it succeeds specifically because of architectural choices made at the silicon and thermal layout levels. By the time an object exhibits bad dormant behavior in late-stage user testing, its physical and electrical architecture is completely irreversible. Here is the reality of late-stage engineering. When a product fails the test of dormancy late in a program, the only functional move an engineer has left is to simply dim an LED. A moment of wonder. The most vital design question must be answered in the first weeks of a project. What is this thing like to live with at 4 in the morning when absolutely nobody is touching it? Design decisions are cheap at the sketch phase, but brutal once retooled. You must use advanced design intelligence to see every state of existence before you build.